What's going on, YouTube? Welcome into Stuck in the Catch Fence. My name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Travis Butt. Travis, how are you doing?
Beautiful, hanging out, trying to enjoy all the good weather while it lasts.
Yeah, we on Sunday here in Indiana will be in the 60s, which is kind of like a craziness that we haven't experienced for quite a few months.
It's be
So
like 39 for low too, which is crazy.
yeah. So I will be wearing my hoodie during absolutely during pregame tailgate for the Bengals on Sunday. But Travis, we're here to talk about the NASCAR playoffs. We have made it this far in a long season. We are now down to the final 10 races. So you and I are going to give a playoff preview. We'll talk about what four drivers we have coming out of this three race series and then kind of discuss why we believe it the way that we do. And let's go ahead and look before we even get started at what the playoffs look like. Kyle Larson, despite not winning the regular season championship, is on top. That's probably the first time, at least in recent memory, that I can remember that the regular season champion was not in first or second, but actually in fifth. So Kyle Larson with 35. Then he goes Bell, Byron, Denny Hamlin. So if you are shocked that both Hendrick and Gibbs are at the top of the top four, well, you've been living under a rock. The regular season champion, Tyler Reddick, who won it by a point, is in fifth. Ryan Blaney, last season's champ. Then it goes Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe to finish above the bubble. Tied at the bubble, Alex Bowman with Harrison Burton. Yes, Alex Bowman tied with Harrison Burton. Then Ty Gibbs, then Martin Truex, who are just 1 point out. So it is very close, Travis, 8 through 16. So let's just go ahead and you can kind of talk initially about the three races. Does it really set up for anybody in particular? You know, we go to Atlanta to begin the playoffs, and then after Atlanta, we go to Watkins Glen and then Bristol. So kind of talk to me about the three races, and then who do you think will do the best in those three to, get to the point to where we cut down four of those drivers?
Yeah, I think you got a super speedway. Essentially, you have a road course, and you have a short track. So you got to look at who's your typical ones that are do well there, right? You got the Kyle Larsons, you have the Ryan Blaney's. Um, you,
Travis.
you can probably
Kyle
put
Larson could not show up for an entire race and still advance to the next round.
hey, you're not wrong there either. You have your probably I'm gonna say you have six safe drivers, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna say you probably have six safe drivers. You got the other 10 that are the ones that are fighting for the bottom four. They're not being the bottom four. Um, I think you look at I would want to say Daniel Suarez is one of those that is going to be the bottom four, but he won Atlanta, right?
Which is where
Not
we go
running,
next.
yep, not running terrible. Um, you know, Yeah, it's kind of a toss up if we're gonna be honest. I mean, do you want me to give my perspective of who the bottom four are, or like I said, I think the top six. There's six drivers that are safe, in my opinion. They could
Okay.
probably do whatever they want and they're fine. The other 10 are the ones that are very like,
Is
what's gonna happen?
to you though, I mean, to me, this is a normal. Like to me, like I feel like it's always been easy to give my bottom four. When you say six drivers are safe and 10 are not, to me that is just completely abnormal compared to previous years. I mean, do you feel differently? Because to me, like I look at that and I'm like, dude, there's going to be two guys that advance, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. So, like I'm looking at it right now. You have Austin Cindric, kind of a cupcake win, right? You have someone else in there. Where's Joey Logano been in the last month, right? Besides, he's got probably one win in there, but yeah, I guess Richmond, he ran okay. You got Daniel Suarez. I don't know. Other than the win, would he even made the playoffs? Chase Briscoe
Oh
just won,
no.
so he's rolling on some momentum. Bowman's iffy. Harrison Burton, I think he's almost an automatic out. Ty Gibbs has struggled the last month, and then Martin Truex, kind of a struggle bus as well. I mean, like I said, his name what eight drivers right there, and we haven't really talked about the other ones per se. So
We do have to
Definitely
give
got
it to Martin Truex to be consistent, to be absolute dog water at the end of the regular season, beginning of the
yep,
playoffs, the last 2 years. And to me, that's the wild card. Like, yeah,
yep.
is he at the best driver at one of the best teams? Sure. Alex Bowman kind of gets in that same type vein too. But Martin Truex Jr. has been finishing in the 20s. He literally couldn't run 5 laps last week. And to me, Travis, I look at this and I'm like, okay, Martrix won the regular season last year and almost got knocked out in the first round. This year, he's on the outside looking in. How do I have any confidence to pick this guy?
You don't, right? The only wild card is he's going to Watkins Glen, right? Really hasn't won in the next gen era. And, he looked good at Sonoma, but until he ran out of gas. But, you have a little bit there. He runs decent on super speedways. And then, obviously decent at, like a Bristol. So, you would think there'd be some confidence there, but you would also thought that he'd run really well at Darlington. But like you just said, couldn't even run 5 laps without wrecking, wrecking Blaney and himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to me, this is I just find this unique, man. When we go to Bristol, you and I were there. We don't know what the temperature is going to be. It probably won't be as low, but if we have the same front that we have right now, man, these tires and everything else, that actually I think sets up for Martin Truex. If the tire wear falls off, you want that veteran driver to be able to take care of the car. That's more of his style of race. But if we get based upon speed, Martin Truex Jr. is not a a short track racer. He's never
Mhm.
been that. He can be good because he is in Joe Gibbs equipment, but those are some very interesting things. And of course, when it comes to super speedways, we never say Joe Gibbs is the favorite. Um, Looking at Atlanta, I think that has the biggest potential, obviously, of a wild card. Um, we obviously got Daniel Suarez in what was the closest finish in NASCAR history until Kansas took that away. But my pick for Atlanta, so I'll just go ahead and throw a guy that I think is going to advance. Joey Logano dominates it at Atlanta, and I just feel like he's really, really good. I thought William Byron would do better at Darlington, so I'm kind of cooled off on him a little bit, but I am going to throw all my cards at Joey Logano at Atlanta. I feel like Ryan Blaney, obviously, at Atlanta could be good too. Who do you look at Atlanta and say, I think this is a good time for them to get some points to really, save themselves from being at that cut line?
I mean, Chase Elliott comes to mind a little bit. I think William Byron also is someone that can, it seems like always we talked about him last year, always being there at the end, right? He was always there at the end of the race. Um, that's kind of who I had in mind. You want to say, Harrison just won the last super speedway race. I think partially a fluke, right? I hate to sound like that, but yeah, I think you got William Byron in there that has a lot of runs where he's won there, right? Joey Logano, I think that's terrific. Any of the Penske cars, Cindric, not super impressed, has been
No.
there, right?
Yeah, but no.
He was there at the end of the Atlanta race, if I remember right. Him and Bubba, I think, were right there close to each other. So I think it's a toss up, right? But I think the track is wearing down a little bit. Handling's going to come into play a little bit.
Hmm.
You know, some of the better drivers are going to still feed up to the top, right? So who's that going to be? That's going to be either Joey Logano's, it's going to be Denny Hamlin's, it's going to be Tyler Reddick's, people like that. So that's
Yeah.
who I look. That's who I look forward to.
Now, one driver I do want to talk to you about, and you're obviously a Hendrick fan. It says it on your hat anyway. Rooting for the number 5 and Kyle Larson. A lot of rumors going around the number 48, and it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it or not. Alex Bowman spoke about the fact that it's September. I would know if I wasn't in a ride. There's a lot of truth to that. It's also September, and we don't know who's in a lot of rides. So, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that as well. What do you expect out of Alex Bowman, as this may be one of the races that he has the best shot at, because Alex is not a great road course racer, and I don't see him winning Bristol. As a guy that has to solidify himself in the playoff after winning the Chicago Street Race, but really doing nothing again outside of that. With these rumors swirling, what's your goals for Alex Bowman?
Um, I think you kind of hit it right there, right? I think that's some added pressure to him because he obviously contacted his teams and was like, "Am I out of the ride or not?" They were like, "Oh no, you're fine." That's some added pressure. That's something in the back of the head you're going to have when you're racing. What
Right.
risk do you take? You take that extra risk in order to get wrecked, and then you're out of the playoffs, and then they come back to you.
Uh-oh. Lost Travis there for a second. Um, but yeah, I think that, when it comes to Alex Bowman, dude, this couldn't be a more pressure situation when it comes to talking about being demoted again. And Alex has had a hard time in the series consistently showing that he belongs, and especially that he belongs in a Hendrick car. Alex Bowman was essentially handpicked by Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get this ride, and I feel like Rick Hendrick had the responsibility to let him know, like, hey, I believe that you can do this, but I need you to prove it at some point. And he's just been unable to prove that ever since he's got into that ride. He's won a couple races here and there. It's kind of been sporadic. You wins at Auto Club, he wins at Chicago. But now that he's in the playoffs, he's on the outside looking in. If I'm Alex Bowman right now, I got to think, like, if not now, when do I ever solidify myself as being right for this ride outside of Dale Jr. having my back with what we've seen so far, outside of having a Hendrick sponsor? Alex Bowman has clearly been the fourth best car, and that just hasn't changed at all this year.
I guess I totally agree. I think I would say that he needs to definitely be someone that needs to get to the round of eight, right? Someone that needs to advance to get past that. What year was that? Was that 2018 that Bowman drove his wheels off to get to the? I think it was 2018. And that was the year
Hmm.
that Larson should have won, but then Jeffrey Earnhardt wrecked on the front stretch, and Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex. It was like a wild. That
Talking
was
about the
2018.
Roval.
That was the first rover race.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
It kicked Jimmy Johnson out of the playoffs by wrecking right there,
yep.
if I remember correctly.
And then yeah, Larson advanced, so did Bowman. So I think it's something you gotta set a goal for. You're in too good of equipment. You have a full time sponsor. You have probably unlimited funding. You're that it's your goal this year to get to the round of eight to prove that, hey, I deserve this ride. I don't deserve going to the Spire ride. I don't deserve to go to some of this stuff.
Yeah, especially when, to be completely honest, you're getting outrun by Spire each and every week. I mean, Corey LaJoy, thank God, finally for him had top 10, but Carson Hocevar's been up there, running top 10s, and we just haven't seen that from Alex Bowman when his teammates have done, you know, I know it pains you, but Kyle Larson still led 200 laps. Chase Elliott is still top five in points. And then when you get to, Byron had the 3 wins at the beginning of the year, kind of middling at the end, but still was top six. And when it comes to the point standings, and then when you get to Bowman, it's like, oh, what are you doing? If you want to compare to Martin Truex, like Martin Truex is still top 10 in points. Like even in Martin Truex doesn't win, he's still top 10 in points. If
Yep.
he doesn't advance out of this round, Travis, do you think it's a given that he's out?
I mean, based off what he was saying, no, it's not a given, but I would say there's definitely going to be some talks, right? You got, it's like we talked about too. Who would you put in that 48 car?
Well, the rumors out is Justin Haley. I mean, is that
I,
an increase or a decrease? I know you're not the
I,
biggest Haley fan.
I mean, I don't know. Haley's shocked me this year with what he's done. He's still 32nd in points. We talk, and you look at his points, like, oh my god, he's still 32nd, right?
Right.
Um, I think he's definitely impressed a lot of people. He just didn't show me enough in the collet car. I know the collet car guy isn't still the best, but never really fully impressed. I still see Haley going to the 7 car. I think Bowman, no matter what happens, unless he finishes 30th or worst every race in these playoffs, he'll be there next year. But I would say the following year, his job's probably in jeopardy if I had to assume.
Yeah. It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the two guys really need solidifying their spots that do have contracts for next year are Daniel Suarez, which, they decide to choose Shane Van Gisbergen out over Zane Smith for the Trackhouse team. But Daniel Suarez is on a 1 year deal next year, and Alex Bowman. So, I mean, if they can advance, like just advance, to me, that's big, especially Daniel Suarez. If Daniel Suarez can advance to the round of 12, I just feel like, man, he just has a lot of ground to stand on. for that purpose only, especially since his teammate didn't make it. Like it doesn't matter how good you are in points. Did you win a race? Ross Chastain didn't win a race and he didn't get in. I mean, eh, Ross Chastain also could say that, until Rick Hendrick called him, he was really damn good at racing until he got that phone call, but has dialed it down a lot. Um, just moving forward, though, Chase Briscoe, the 19 is not going to be there next year. This is a chance for him to solidify himself as a really, really good driver. I've always believed that in Chase Briscoe. I just didn't think he had the great equipment. When it comes to Chase Briscoe, what do you think his chances are, Travis?
Well, it's interesting to hear them talk about, they shut off a lot of their, um, resources.
Expand
People are
expand on
leaving.
that for the common listener that has no idea what that means, because that is
So
big.
yeah, so a lot of their people are leaving. They're going to other teams. Their resources, their data that they get. They're selling off a lot of their equipment. I was told that their Oculus, not their Oculus, but their I'm gonna call them laser pointers. The laser pointers that they got to go through tech, they sold that. So a lot of the stuff they're doing is, that's what I think it was a bigger shock. I almost want to say that the Chase Briscoe win was a more underdog win than the Harrison Burton win to a certain degree. If you look at the resource side of things,
It took
right?
a
They
badass
got a
effort, that's for damn sure.
yes. Oh, it was awesome, right? So they now, listen to some of the podcasts and listen to people talk. Like they've had to bring people in. They're having to. They're literally, which is crazy. I would be shocked to see the other three SHR cars be anywhere in the top 20.
Yep, I
Every
agree.
single resource is going to go to that 14 car.
Yep.
Every single resource. You got Rodney in there that's gonna, the 4 car is gonna probably still perform, but the 10 car, the 41 car, nada. I think they might be top 25 best chance, right? Everything is going to that 14 car. The most they can. They want to go out on top.
Yeah. And again, to illuminate that, like, these teams, they're given data, they're given information, they're given equipment. This team sold off. They're gone. There is nothing that there. There's 300 employees that will no longer have a job at the current position that they have. Their work is moved on elsewhere for the next year. So when Travis is saying this, like, this team is essentially working in a warehouse now that's being powered by a candle. They
Mhm.
they're doing the best that they can with what they got. And the fact that Chase Briscoe did what he did is simply amazing. It kind of reminds me of what Legacy Motor Club, once they announced that they were going to Toyota. Difference is Legacy Motor Club's been nowhere close to getting into victory lane, and Chase Briscoe at the hardest driver's track found himself into victory lane. So I mean that's a
And I was
tremendous effort.
and think about this. They had to keep the Ford charter, right? Because that was worth the most money. They were getting the most money. And think about whatever team bought the 14 charter. Think about how much money they are back there. You know what show was that when they and the guy's like, "You okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." Right? They're doing the silent happy dance because
Yeah.
they just probably got an extra $1.5 million in revenue per year
Yep.
because of that one win. Because everything was final, everything was sold. So think about that. So whoever bought it is getting some extra moolah in their pocket. So they were cheering for that as well.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's RFK bringing Ryan Priest over. We don't know if that's Zane Smith or not. Excuse me. If that is, um, if that's Trackhouse bringing Shane Van Gisbergen into that car. We don't know if that is Front Row Motorsports with their third ride when it comes to Noah Gragson. We have no idea because those type of details. I mean, I'm sure we'll never figure out what those are. But yeah, I'm sure they're absolutely, pumped knowing that
We'll figure it out.
now.
Bob Pockers will come out with something that tells us what charter goes to who.
It's true. Well, push comes to shove, Travis. We're now at the end of the show where we have to make our first four out. So moving on to the round of 12. I can go first if you want, or if you want to go first, it does not matter to me. Who
Just
are your
4 drivers that are getting out, correct?
Yep, the four drivers that will not make it to the round of 12.
Okay. Can we should we go back and forth? I choose one, you choose
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I think we can both agree Harrison Burton, right?
I agree Harrison Burton is out He needs a super speedway. Atlanta's not it.
Yep, I agree. Next one, Austin Cindric.
Okay,
That's my second one.
you got Austin. I'm going to say Martin Truex. I just have not seen anything there. He's a guy that historically does not prepare for this, and based upon, I needed some emotion after the exit from Darlington. And Travis, I feel like I got more emotion that he was announcing Cole Perns coming back for 2025
Yeah.
than I did him leaving Darlington. So I'm going to go with Martin Truex to your Austin Centric.
Huh. My third, Brad Keselowski.
Ooh, damn.
I
Okay,
think
what?
he's gonna
Give
I
me
think
some here.
he's gonna struggle a little bit in Atlanta. I think he's gonna be trying to play over aggressive. He's not the. Then
No,
you go
not
to a road
Brad.
course.
Not Brad.
He's gonna he's gonna go to a road course where Busher has been really well, but Brad's been iffy, right? And then you go to Bristol. I haven't seen he was nowhere in
No,
Bristol, when he raced us last time. So
no.
if he doesn't do well in Atlanta, I don't see. And he's only what, if I'm looking here, right, 3 points above the cut line, right? Three
Yeah,
points.
yeah. That's not a
So
lot.
I think that's my third.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Three fours, but
Man, I do like that, but I got to go Daniel Suarez. I just feel like it was a fluke. They've shown no speed anywhere. I mean, their Hail Mary is Atlanta. Daniel Suarez is not a good short track racer. I mean, he's a good road course racer, but he's more of a Sonoma because that doesn't require speed. Watkins Glen is a fast track, and I feel like that's not his thing. So I'm going to go Daniel Suarez.
okay, okay. My last one. I've kind of been thinking about this one because I've had it. I filled out a couple different brackets, and I've kind of gone this a different way. I've kind of taken an approach of, do I want to go someone that's, highly controversial, like Chase Elliott, right?
No,
I had
not
that in the
so.
back of my
I don't
mind,
believe that. Surely not take
but
Chase Elliott out in the first.
but I think, I had Elliott in one, I had Gibbs getting out in another one. I think Scherz is going to advance. I think his motivation. I think of a lot of it like the Jeff Gordon year, right? Jeff Gordon didn't have any wins heading into his last year. Finally got
Well,
one
he
at
also had a rule
Martinsville.
change so that he could get in too. But
Yeah, that was 2013, by the way. But besides the story, I I think my last one, man, I don't know, man. I want to go with the Suarez, but I think Suarez is going to just do enough to maybe squeak in there. I am going to go with Briscoe. That's my fourth. Unfortunately, Cinderella story out. So I got Harrison Burton, Cindric, um, Brad K, and Briscoe. Four forwards.
yep,
Gonzo.
yep. Just the teams that have won the last 2 years. That's fine. That's fine. Um, yeah. I mean, to me, I just feel like the pressure is at the max, and when you got somebody that's trying to prove themselves, they make more mistakes. And I just feel like the next three tracks aren't the best for this driver, so I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs. It's his first time in. I could see him making a big mistake at Atlanta, thinking he needs to push it when he doesn't. Like you just need top tens. Like if you get top tens, somebody's going to f up. Brad K
Mm-hmm.
could f up. You know, when it comes to any of these drivers, I'm literally. I mean, look at this one last time, guys. From eighth to 16th is 4 points. That's
Mm-hmm.
4 points. Well, I mean, we're talking playoff points. We're talking stage points. We're talking regular finishing. That is nothing. And man, when I see Joey Logano, I just don't feel like he's going to screw it up. When I see, Chase Briscoe, all the resources going into one, Alex Bowman, he's going to be as smart on the pit box. I then just look at the inexperience when it comes to Ty Gibbs, and yeah, he's in a Joe Gibbs ride, but man, it's just hard to say. Like he hasn't won a race, which we both predicted he would win a race this year, and I feel like now it's like, well, I have to advance, and I feel like he's going to do something really, really silly. Not to say that Ty Gibbs is not a good racer. I just feel like he pushes it too hard and makes a silly mistake.
I think you look at it too. Like think about how he was the first 15 races of the year, and then look at his last 11. Right,
Right.
like he was easily in the playoffs, and then we come to Darlington's like, oh god, like he's gonna have to point his way in a little bit here,
Yep.
right? Like we went from he's gonna make it easily 200 points above the cut line to oh crap, like a couple winners might have threw him out, and he struggled, right? He didn't have a top 10 finish until um I don't remember his last top 10 finish. If I'm gonna
No,
be
I
honest with you, I
can't.
don't
I
know.
can't either. I mean, he's been in
So
spots, Travis, but to that point,
yep,
he's wrecked. I mean, Michigan, he wrecked. Darlington, he was in the top five, gets in a wreck, going three wide. Has no reason to push it three wide on that last restart. Ends up wrecking.
yep,
It just feels like when it comes to those young drivers trying to prove themselves, they just have a harder time of it. When Kyle Busch got into the playoffs his first time, had a harder time. I can't remember the last rookie that made it in maybe outside of Chase Briscoe that just did decent, and
yeah,
and and I just don't see that happening this year. So
I
um,
agree.
it,
I agree.
it it's just tough for a guy at this point of his career. you know, Brandon Jones isn't there to wreck to advance to the final four.
Mhm.
So those type of things. But I'm excited. Travis could when I watch this, I won't have to watch it because I'll be at the Bengals game on Sunday. But man, when I watch this back, dude, we've had a banger of a 2024 regular season.
The thing that's made it awesome too is, all the silly seasons came along with it, right?
Yep.
Like it's been so much of a flick of a coin, you know, and think about like all the races we went to. We went to Bristol, which was
Yep.
awesome, right? Dega was okay the first time around. Then we went to Kansas, awesome. Nashville, the most restarts
Crazy.
ever. What was
I went to
then? I
Gateway.
went,
I went to Gateway, and Gateway was nuts because
yeah,
of the running out of gas by Blaney.
yeah.
You just went to Daytona.
And Daytona was, got watched a couple records get broke,
Yep.
right? So absolutely, it's been a great. We've gone to a lot of really good races this year, and we have gone to and witnessed a lot of great things so far this year. So hats off to NASCAR. I think we're getting closer. I'm not gonna say we're all the way there, but we're definitely getting closer to what we need to do.
Yep. Yep. And I don't expect anything changing in the playoffs, especially if we get tire wear at Bristol. We will have an absolute blast. I think
And
Watkins
Watkins Glen,
Glen, Watkins Glen may be the worst race of the entire playoffs if we don't have any type of strategy, but we do have stages, so it's not like somebody's going to get out front and win the
but
entire
they did
time.
say 4 seconds of fall off. That's kind of crazy.
We can hope. We can hope. We can hope. Goodyear, do your part. So again, thank you, Travis. I appreciate you jumping on for this. This will be an awesome time. We'll be back with you next week. Joe, hope you're feeling better, buddy. That's why he's not on. He's not feeling very good. So again, thank you guys for joining for Stuck in the Catch Fence. Travis Butt. I'm Ryan Peters. That's our 4 playoff picks knocked out. What are yours? Let us know in the comments below. And until then, we'll see you next time. Stay safe and God bless.